Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 61st lecture of ASC webinar series. It is my privilege to introduce Professor Anand Singh. He is a distinguished historian and archaeologist currently serving in the Department of History at Babasaheb Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Lucknow. He has previously held several key academic and administrative roles, including head of the Department of Historical Studies and Archaeology at the Central University of South Bihar and professor at Nalanda University, where he has also served as Dean of School of Historical Studies and Dean of International Relations. At Gautam Buddha University, Professor Singh held multiple leadership positions, including Dean of School of Buddhist Studies and Civilization, Dean of Students Affairs, and Dean of Research and Planning. His work reflects a lifelong commitment to advancing the study of archaeology and Buddhist heritage at India and beyond. For today's webinar, he will discuss Nalanda Mahavihara, Onomastic analysis, sacred landscape, and origin. Before we commence this interesting discussion, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Singh for sharing his expertise with us through this talk. Sir, could you please begin your presentation? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. And first of all, before beginning my deliberation, like heartfelt thank to Professor Prabhakar, who has just given me opportunity to just explore on one of my favorite topic, that is Nalanda. As you just see about my topic, Nalanda Mahavihara, onomastic analysis and sacred landscape and origin. So it broadly covers actually the three segments that is a much debate in recent days, and why I'm just deliberate that why there is some kind of debate on its name itself, how you can define the sacred landscape of Nalanda, and definitely the origin, that is everybody is talking about that it is just originated spontaneously in the 4th, 5th century during the Gupta age. So these are the almost a very much debated topic. And when you just look into it, when I started, I'm just given my first slide. Generally, when you talk about Nalanda, people have a very general image, and they put the image of temple number 3. And temple number 3 is just simply accepted as Nalanda. But here, I have just put a very different image, and that is Sarai Mound. So the question is that why I had put the image of the Sarai Mound, because the recent archaeological explorations and investigations are just pinning the point that probably this can be the first site where Nalanda as a vihar was first time founded, and then the beginning of Nalanda tradition started from this place. So now just coming on to my just deliberation, first I will discuss about that the name. And when you talk about the name, that after its destruction, around 16th, 17th century, Nalanda itself as a monastery and Nalanda as a place almost forgotten, except few literature that was found in and around in Jaina establishment. So almost its identity was totally lost as a religious establishment, as well as a geographical place, as a place of, you can say that it was famous for at a suburban area as a place of trade. So everything is forgotten, and the place itself got a new identity, and that identity was popularly known as Bargaon or Baragaon. And Bargaon itself is now a very popular for today's aspect. Chhat Puja begins there in the Bihar, and now the most, you can say, celebrated Chhat Puja in whole Bihar is celebrated in Bargaon itself. So you see that how Nalanda identity got transformed. And so when archaeological discovery started and excavation started, uh, then finally one of the pioneer archaeologists who did 3-4 sessions of excavation in the Nalanda, Hiranand Shastri, when he was discovering and finding just that probably the Bargaon area has in the Nalanda, then he requested the British officials that the place itself is Nalanda, ancient Nalanda. So I am requesting you that this place itself should be named as Nalanda, not Bargaon. So because of that, you can say Hiranand Shastri, one of the pioneer archaeologists, who has renamed almost this place as a Nalanda. And by that time, you can say Nalanda got its identity. So that was that beginning. And when the name has some, you can say, debate started with itself with the debate, then the question was, people started exploring that how Nalanda as a name came into existence. So definitely Sastri was excavating the site. So he just tried to find some kind of, you can say, ideas that was already prevalent in adjoining cities. And one of the important proposition was that some of the very important cities like Pachaliputra, like Kushinagar, like Pippalivana, so many cities, ancient cities, were named on some of the botanical names, were based on some of the plants. So he just went into the surrounding during his long stay in the Nalanda, and he said that in the region of Nalanda, there are two kind of trees are abundant, and the first they says that there is a lot of ironwood tree, and so ironwood tree has just known as Na basically. So he says that because of abundance of ironwood tree, maybe this place was named as Nalanda. But over the time, he himself changed his view. He says that Nalanda has a surrounding of lot of water bodies. Even still, Nalanda has more than 50 water bodies. So he told that when you look into the water bodies, there is hundred of ponds and water tanks, and in the rainy season you have abundance of lotus trees, so lotus plants. So he says that lotus stalks was known as Nala. So he says that because of abundance of lotus plants and its identification, its stock identification, this place can be known as Nalanda. So basically, it was the beginning was made because of the lotus plant. But his theory was not just justified, because when you go to the Jaina literature and also the Kautilya's Arthashastra, you find a very important word is used for the Nalanda. And that word was known as, it is a Bahirika. So the question was that how Nalanda is known as a Bahirika. So when I just look into that, I found that basically Bahirika, it's a outside, it's a peripheral. So peripheral of what? How it can be known as that peripheral. So my mind just directly go to the Rajgir, the first capital of the Magad Empire. And if you see that, it is totally a hilly terrain. And when there is a standing army's concept began, a big chunk of bureaucracy was residing there. So it's a very little space still, that how can you accommodate large population? And when you are accommodating the large population, again the question is that how you supply day to day for necessity for them, like milk, like curd, like any. How can you supply like vegetables? So basically, to cater the needs of the Rajgir, Nalanda was established as a Bahirika. It is so the first evidence that came that Nalanda was almost set up as a unit, as an economic unit. And some Pali evidences almost gives evidence that Nalanda Nigamo Hoti means Nalanda was like a so that gives a big question that the urbanization itself started when Rajgir into just came into existence as a state, and due to that second urbanization, Nalanda was the direct outcome. So economy, if became the backbone of emergence of any urban space, then the question was that uh, how that economic setup can set a or can just name a proper this city. So it has probably maybe plant a very important credential to name, but what kind of the plant that we have to look into it. Second, I'm just coming into onto that. Then first discussing about that different theories that came on the name nomenclature of Nalanda, and then Fascian's view that came. So Fascian simply says that it was just named because of there was a Naga tank, and on Naga tank the first settlement started, and so because of that Naga tank, this place became the Nalanda. It was almost a very conjectural kind of things, because probably he did not just visit that place and he was just passing through that region, and so he just put the name almost. So this name was also that not accepted. Renjang's hypothesis was accepted by many, and his hypothesis was based on a story mentioned in the Jatakas that is known as Mahasudasan Jataka. So Mahasudasan Jataka shows that in the previous birth, the Buddha was as a bodhisattva was the king of Nalanda, and he was honored with the title of Nalendra. So Nalanda, who is giver of the gift, who is just benevolent and kind to all. So he says that Nalanda itself gives almost a learning to all. Nalanda just satisfy everyone. So maybe that because of that Bodhisattva's name, his name was almost Nalanda. But this thing also not accepted, because almost you can say that Jatak story itself has not much credential that to just found a city, as there are 12, 13 sutras that are mentioned, Pali sutras. Those sutras was preached by the Buddha in Nalanda, and such indications were not given in those sutras. So his theory was not just almost his hypothesis was not accepted. Eating says that the same credential, like you see that Fayan mentioned, that he just says that it was not only the Nagananda, sorry, it was only the Naga tank, but it was a particular Naga whose name was Nanda, Nagananda. So on the basis of it, it was almost named as Nalanda. But he also not just cited the evidence that how it was possible. When I just started working that what can be the real just reason for that, definitely when economy is very important criteria. So I found that Fascian's reference of Nalo suggests that mm, there is some kind of economic propositions when you're dealing with the name Nalanda. Like there is a very popular word in the whole Magad region, in the hill region, and also you can say in the part of the Bengal, that is Nala and Nari. So Nala and Nari is, you can say it's a bamboo stick. And what is the use of that bamboo stick? So that bamboo stick is a kind of measurement. Basically, still that is used when the land measurement especially in the rural areas, and that land measurement is defined as a nali, that you have a 4 nali of land, you have a 10 nali of land. So it is still very popular. So the question is that it's a economic unit, nali, and that nali is directly corresponding to a kind of bamboo. So how it can be possible that bamboo has this and that there is a special kind of kusha grass, or is a bamboo that you call that Sacharum spontaneum. It's known as, popularly known as wild sugar. It's very popular in Bengal and reason. This is Kash in the reason. I was talking about that how Nala and or Nalaka became a very important source of the local economy. And so when we first we learn that what is the botanical characteristic that wild sugarcane. And so we found it that it has a considerable rhizome, and it is almost, it's 8 meter tall. Just you see that how it looks, and you will look in when you just visit Bihar this time, you will find that whole Bihar region is surrounded by this kind of grass. Everywhere, yes, you find it. And when I just we look into that the social and economic configuration of this, we found it that the dried stock of this was used to measure the land. One very important thing. This particular Akash stick is also used in the local ritual. And it is also just used as this particular bamboo can survive in the dry period as well as that seasonal floods. It has a sufficient glucose and fiber. So I just asked them, so says that it was burned down and used as a sugar in the early period. And all the huts you found in and around the Nalanda, then you found that it was this particular bamboo is used abundantly everywhere. So it has a very almost sporadic use and covering all aspect of life. Just what I propose that probably this was the very important material, and it is locally is still known as Nalaka. So because of that Nalaka, the whole region became Nalanda. And this looks appropriate that probably, and it also just partially just you can say gives that idea that Hiranand Shastri started, that the surrounding region and cities are generally based on some specific plants like Pataliputra, Kushagash, and Kushinagar, and so on. So that Nalak grass or Nalak bamboo may be the base, maybe the appropriate, you can say, material that encouraged the people to name this place as Nalanda. Uh, when I just take the second point, that sacred landscape. Here, uh, when I talk about that sacred landscape, the sacred landscape itself means the monastic space. Especially, I'm talking not about that Nalanda as a space. I'm coming to Nalanda as a space in the latter part of it. So generally, Nalanda is identified on, you can say, basis of uh, 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 the archaeological site that is 1.5 kilometer. And when everybody just visit, even the renowned archaeologists, they talk about that Nalanda that was excavated. But recent archaeological excavations and the study that is going on almost from past 10 years almost changed the world view of actual Nalanda site. And in my opinion, why we are looking that 1.5 kilometer Nalanda is a real Nalanda. Probably when you took the whole Nalanda, it is almost 20 square kilometer, not less than that. So I just try to just divide how you can specify, how you can just study Nalanda. So I just divided into two zones basically. One is the peripheral zone and the second is the core zone. Uh, uh, Core zone generally, that is that the core where monastery is lying. That includes the excavated site we have. And that core zone now include both excavated and non-excavated area. So almost it is not only the core area, you should just specify that we have, uh, uh, we are just looking that this is the Nalanda. So this is almost, and that now covers almost 6, 7 villages. In my just opinion, it's not opinion, it's almost fact that core area just comprises Jagdishpur, Rukmini Asthan, that is called Jafardi, Baragaon, Muzaffarpur, Sarichak, Murgiachak, Surajpur, Kapatia, Mohanpur, Kool, Nona, Begumpur, and Damankhanda. Among these villages, when you look into that, we have only Baragaon and not whole Baragaon. Baragaon's only 1/3 part is the Nalanda that is visible to us. Rest of the villages, all even the houses, there is no need that you have to go to just uh, going for, you can say that using radar and just going for excavation. You don't need anything. You simply visit these villages, you will find it, the foundation stone that is visible of majority of the houses is based on the ancient bricks that may be the monuments of Nalanda just under the earth. So directly you can say that. Even in 5, 6, 7 sites, years, just when I visited, I found that 6, 7 years, some of the ancient monuments lying scattered. And now when go to it, there is a 2, 3, just a story house just built over it. So majority of these villages, you will find it that you have a direct evidence that monument is lying and above it the settlement is there. So very important. And all these places that I have talked about, you find that there is in the monasteries, chaityas, stupas, even the sculptures lying open. So you will just find it that this is the core area. And I just hope that sometime, somehow, these sites would be opened and it would give you a new arena, a new age for the Nalanda. When I'm just giving you in the map, you just found it, that core area that just put that Nalanda Mahavihara archaeological site. You will just find that is the core area, and then whole surrounding area that you can say around 30 to 40 kilometer of this core area have a lot of monasteries that can be identified archaeologically that these are the monasteries, and also you can say that find it that monasteries, and also you will find the support from the literary evidences. So it's very important evidences that you just find. When you look into the peripheral area, you find that almost 20, 30 kilometers consist of lot of sites which are that you can say peripheral, like very important that Kavadol and Barabar Hill area. Literary evidence shows that earlier Shwenshang mentions that it was a Gunamati Vihara. Dharavat, another very important site, and Shwenshang again gives the evidence that this site was the Silbhadra Vihara. JTN itself adjoining, it's very near to Rajgir. Here, Yastivan Vihara was there. Silao, that was very ancient site. Ambala Tikkavan Vihara. Here, it was a great place where Rahul and Yashodhara lived. Almost you say Bahara. Then Chandimau. Chandimau was a great site where Shariputra was born, and he also took Mahaparinirvana there. Nandana or Ghoshi. Ghosarva. It's one of the greatest site after Nalanda. Yashovarma Pura Vihara. Whole village is settled on the monastery. Every time when they started just digging their rooms or just found for giving any started digging any land for foundation, they got a dozen of the Buddha statue. Almost whole village is flooded with that. Titarahava itself a great site, one of the, you can say, largest Buddha image of the whole region found this. Upshurt, also a great monastic site, and Tilhara, that is Tildaka Vihara. Now it's became a very debated that it was another university, but direct evidences are there that it was a satellite campus of the Nalanda. That is very important evidences. How we can say this, that this is the peripheral area or this is the core area? Very first, Shwenshang gives a very important evidences, like he stayed in the Vihara of Gurumati and Shilbhadra, and they says that both were the great Mahapandita of Nalanda. So directly he gives the evidences. He also visited Tildaka, but that is, we called it Telhara, that is 21 miles west of Nalanda. And he says that it was a specialized university and the acharyas of Telhara were experts in Tipitikas. So almost you see that it almost it gives a very important evidence that Nalanda has the also Theravada teachings were taught, and basically Telhara or Teldaka was a very renowned institution of uh, uh, Theravada studies. And he says that when he met more than dozen Tipitaka Charyas and learned 2-3 years about that the fundamental teachings of the Buddha. So you see that that very important evidence founded that. Again, when you just look into that the boundary of the area, so I see that if you just go to the temple number 3 and or you can say go to the monastery number 1, go to the first floor and look towards, you can say, that monastic site, you will see that directly from that side to 2-3 kilometers, you will get though settlement is there, but direct monastic settlement you will find over the kilometers. Directly, just you will find. So almost you see that abundance of that archaeological evidences are there. And we have also just support where basically that when we looked at Begumpur and Damankhanda, that was one of the, I perceive, of the boundary that is 3-4 kilometers from the main Nalanda complex. And archaeological excavation was done in the Begumpur region and also trenching in the Damankhand. And we found that evolution from that site is as much as from NPPW period. So almost it's a very old site, and the situation and the direction was shows that probably it was one of the very important entrance gate of the Nalanda, where Dwar Panditas sit, and finally the test of erudition was made there. And probably outside the Begumpur and Damankhanda, there was a guest house where Shwenshang stayed and finally just entered from that road. Its other side is basically Rukmini Asthan, that is almost you can say that southern region. This is the northern point, southern, and it is almost 3 kilometers from the main Nalanda site. And there is almost a very 12-13 feet Buddha statues there. But now it you can say there's some Brahminical tradition adopted it, and so it's very popularly known as the temple of the Rukmini Asthan, where Rukmini came and stayed. But that is Rukmini Asthan is a very important site. Probably what I identify that in probably one of the last incursion made by Bakhtiyar Khalji's army in 1235, we have evidence from Tibetan sources. Dhammaswami, he was sitting, he was residing that time in the Nalanda University. So he says that many monasteries were burned down, And he, along with probably last chancellor of Nalanda that is known, his name was Mahapandita Rahul Bhadra. So he said that Rahul Sri Bhadra, I have just, I with him moved and just hide in the temple that is in the outer skirt. So probably his direction shows that he stayed at the Rukmini Asthan, and after that, you can say that we don't know about that what happened to Rahul Bhadra, but he instructed Dhammaswami to go back to Tibet, so he just returned to the Tibet. So probably it was that two, you can say, uh, two corners, two entrances of Nalanda, in my assumption, is known. One is Rukmini Asthan, other is that Begumpur Daman Khanda. Two others are still, you can say that a matter of debate that where it should be. It is presumed that there were four important gates for the entrance. Uh, when it come to Nalanda, then there is another very debate come that we should not confuse Nalanda Mahavihar with the Nalanda. Generally, people just have a what is the landscape and what is the sacred landscape, that we have to just presume that we should just demarcate this idea. Uh, Nalanda Mahavihar is on outskirt of Nalanda because it is a rule in Buddhist monastic tradition that monastery should not be built within the city or within the village or within the nigam. It must be outside. It must be on periphery. So the very important thing is that where Nalanda is, Nalanda Mahavihar definitely in the outer skirt. So where is the Nalaka Grama? Where is Nala? Where is Nalo that was talked about, that Chinese traveler and all? So it's a big debate still, and it's a no. We don't have a very clear hypothesis that how and where it's Nalaka Grama is situated, and but on basis of certain identifications like Shwaren Sang identifies a place that is known as Kal Pinaka. It says that it is lies in the southeast of the Nalanda Mahavihara, and it says that as a place of birth of and Parama Parinibbana of the Sariputra. So Sariputra was considered, he was considered that he was born, it is considered that he was born in Nalanda. So on basis of it, it is said that Kalapinaka may be the village where Nalanda was lying. But it's a much debate is still there. Somebody says there's another village that is known as Nanan can be the most can be most suitable place. But and there is another place that is Chandimau. So the excavation of Chandimau says that it's a beginning not less than NPPW phase, and the artifacts and the seals suggest that it is a Buddhist site since that age also. So on basis of it now, majority of the historian accept that probably Chandi Mao would be the birthplace of Sariputra, and so we accept that Nalanda as a Bahirika, Nalanda as a urban space, and Nalanda as a, you can say, settled space, probably in and around Chantimau. That is 3, 4, 5 kilometers from Nalanda Mahavihar. So, very important that a demarcation must be in our mind when we should discuss that where is Nalanda and where is Nalanda Mahavihar. And when we go generally, and we don't have the knowledge, and generally we just go and visit to visit to Nalanda and take a guide. So a guide just take us in the temple number 3. वो कहता है, this is the birthplace of Sariputra. And so big question is there that how Sariputra can born in a monastery? The very big question that is that, and people accept it. It is a monastic site, and how a person, lay person, can just have a birth in the monastery. So almost temple number 3 is not definitely is not a birthplace of the Sariputra. Maybe he attained Nibbana, means he attained knowledge there. So because nobody can have a just have a birth in the monastery except in the certain extraordinary conditions that monastic hospitals are there, or some, you can say, some other people came and from the outside and there. Sariputra, because and it's a definite evidences are there that he was living outside. So Chandi Mao is considered to be a very specific place that is 3 kilometers from the modern Nalanda excavated site, and probably that would be the ideal where you can say the beginning of Nalanda as a city is starting. Now, coming on my third point, that is equally much debated. And when you talk about a general sense that when Nalanda is found, everybody says that in the 4th, 5th century by Sakraditya Kumara Gupta. A very simple answer that was given. And what is the source? Says Alexander Cunningham says, on the basis of evidence that Xuanzang provided. Then the question is that where Xuanzang provided? Siyuki or his other sources did not mention that Sakraditya founded the Nalanda. He said that he built one monastery, and he just mentioned many, at least 6 kings who built monasteries in the Nalanda. So the hypothetical things that came into mind, that how Nalanda was just founded and when. So for it, that we have to uh, we have a very sharp distinction that should be in our mind. One is that Nalanda has a two kind of, you can say, development. One is known as a Nalanda as a Vihara, and the second is known as Nalanda as a Mahavihara. So what is the, you can say, found that what is the difference between Nalanda Vihara and Nalanda Mahavihara? Nalanda Vihara is a monastic tradition. Monastic tradition means here the teaching is directly oriented to train the monks to be an arahant, means to get nibbana or to be a enlightened one, as well as to use that teaching for the purpose of dissemination of Buddhism. So it is totally, that is almost, you can say, exclusive to the monastic domain. And when you talk about that Mahavihara, it is known as basically a scholastic tradition. Monastic tradition got transformed in another tradition that you call that monastic tradition. So what is the monastic tradition? Sukumar, that who I given this hypothesis, he says that it is the process of studia generalia. Means it is open to all. Open to all means anybody who has a kind of qualification to enter this monastery, come and learn. And this also just opened the debate that anybody, means the non-monastic people, maybe, but I did not find till date that any non-monastic people came and learned from the Nalanda. Maybe it's a possibility. But one thing is there, that the person who have a kind of qualification, largely from the monastic tradition, come and just join this monastery and learn it. So this tradition is known as Mahavihara tradition, and Professor Sankaria call it a university. So that Mahavihara tradition became the Nalanda University. So he has given the hypothesis on the basis of certain universities that began in the Italy, like Popoi, like you can say that Sapienza and all, and on basis of that qualification, it says that this is a earliest university that started in all over the world. So on the basis of it, that Mahavihara tradition became a Nalanda University. So two phases you have to learn. The first phase started itself in the 6th century BCE directly by the Buddha. And the Mahavihara tradition that I'm coming, though Cunningham's idea was that it started with the 5th, 6th century, but in my opinion, it is the very early century, maybe 1st or 2nd century Common Era. How we can that Vihara started? Almost there is a dozen of evidences, both Jain and Buddha, Buddhist literary source that mention that Nalanda was a monastery in the sense of Buddhism, was founded during the age of Buddha on the land that was donated by a merchant whose name was Pavarika. So Pavarika donated the land, and then the first monastic site, first vihara was founded. And it was well supported by the excavation from number of the sites like Damankhanda, like the Beganpur, like that Sarai Mound in the adjoining region of the Sarai Mound itself, like the Kapatia region. You find that whole site has, you can say, has that evidences like in the Jafar D. All these sites have the evidence of the NBPW phase. So that is the age of Buddha, you find it. So it's a very odd to say that the first vihara was founded during the age of the Buddha. And we cannot just segregate vihara with Mahavihara. So you cannot say that Mahavidananda was founded by the Kumaragupta. It was founded during the age of the Buddha. How it transformed into the Mahavihara? Definitely, Sukumar that says that it has certain characteristics that finally converted it into Mahavihara. So he says that what should be the characteristics that is changing is from the monastic to a scholastic tradition. So he says that this Mahavihara, especially Nalanda, has a chief abode directly appointed by the system of the election, or just you can say some mutual consent among all satellite as well as core monasteries. Very important evidences, evidence of it is found in the 10th century. We have a patriarch from Marampur, Bihar, that is Ghosarwa, and the Dharmpal's inscription mentioned that the abode of that monastery now became the chancellor of the Nalanda University. So you have a direct epigraphic evidence that the person who was living almost 14 kilometers away from the Nalanda in the Gosarwa, in the Marampur Vihara, became the chancellor of the Nalanda. So almost it is said Shilabhadra itself living almost in the Barabar region. So you will find it that patriarch from all core and monastic sites just take decision to appoint the head. So he says that it is a rule there would be a chief abode, and then he says that all Mahaviharas were state patronized, either directly by the kings or by that land grants given by the kings. Then he says that all Mahaviharas were engaged in directed religious activities. Their ecclesiastical activities were directly taken decision by from some of the important body, and they disseminate from top to bottom. So he says that Nananda was, and he says that there may be two kind of, you can say, Mahavihara. First he says there is a number of institutions that merge like Nalanda, or any institution with these features directly established by the king, like Vikramshila, like Udantapuri, like you can say Udayana, and all Bengal Mahaviharas that you call. So he says that it has a two type of the arrangement. How debate is started? When you see that reference that when Xuanzang started, that idea was taken that Chakradatta was just founder of the Mahavihara. So when you go to his evidence, he just mentioned Xuanzang, Chakradatta, a farmer king of this country, entered in one vehicle and reverencing the three precious jewels, built a monastery. I have consulted at least 15 to 20 versions of Xuanzang's biography and his writing. and almost same kind of references found. They never mentioned that they founded it. They built one of the monastery. And almost he just have some kind of conjectural idea that Shakaraditya joined the one vehicle means Theravada. Definitely, Shakaraditya did not accept that Theravada. Probably Guptas had the leaning now towards the Mahayana. Then just now, I just told that he also mentioned that he founded a vihara. And I have just mentioned you there is a very subtle difference structurally and functionally. What is vihara and what is mahavihara? So probably he built a vihara, not a mahavihara. And he says that after Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha, definitely there is a long gap between ascendancy of the Kumara Gupta and Mahaparinirvana. Then the question is that how this Mahavihara, if he did not just build it, then how this Mahavihara tradition started taking shape in Nalanda. So it has a very long history, basically. Just told you what very first thing that you must be in mind. It is a continuous of tradition and evolution from Vihara to Mahavihara, and when you look to the Gupta lineage itself, you found that there is almost a lot of anomalies, like the Guptas is considered to be Vaishnavite since very early phase. So when you look into the Gupta history, you found that this they may be the follower of the Vaishnav religion, but they did not just discarded Buddhism. And even the founder of the Buddhism, Gupta was probably Buddhist, as B.R. Mani and other people are saying, not you can say a Vaishnav king. And if you just look into one of the image that is found from the Sarnath discovered by B.R. Mani, and it gives the idea of the Sri Gupta, and it just mentioned that indicates that that Sri Gupta was probably the patronized the Buddhist pilgrims coming from the outside, and his lineage, his you can say intention and his almost willingness is showing that probably he has some kind of affiliation with the Buddhism. Another very important point that came, that you know that Guptas as an imperial power revived because of the Lichavis, and especially their marriage with the Princess Kumar Devi. And you know that after destruction of Lichavis by Ajatashatru, they were not finally finished, you can say. They moved into the peripheral area in the Nepal region. And after you see that downfall of the Kanwas and the Kushanas, they re-established themselves in the Vaishali. And when just Guptas when were just emerging into the power, just Kumar Devi came into the picture, and Kumar Devi's marriage with the Gupta basically changed the structure. And definitely she was a Lichavi, and she is, and her impact, her can be seen on the Gupta imperial system right from first inscription after Ghatot Kutch, means Chandragupta first, whom she married, to last even later Gupta king. Every inscription begins with the praise of the Kumar Devi. And his almost idea, he is a Buddhist, so definitely, she is a Buddhist, so definitely she patronized the Buddhist, must have patronized the Buddhist establishment in and around Magadh region. One of the very important source that we found is that Kavya Lankara Sutra Vritti. It was written by Vaman, and that mentions very important source, that is that probably Kumar Devi hired her, that Vasubandhu was teacher of Samudragupta. So if Vasubandhu, and Vasubandhu was also the chancellor of Nalanda. So if the Vasubandhu was the teacher of the Nalanda, definitely Samudragupta have a wider influence of, you can say, of Buddhism. And the second important thing that my recent finding is that his greatest poet, Hari Sen itself, probably belonged to Kashmir region, and his affiliation is also going towards the Buddhist. So you see that there is a wider arena of presence of Buddhism in the age of the Samudragupta. So even if you are going to accept that Gupta is the founder of the Mahavihara, it should be the Samudragupta, or you can say that Kumar Devi, not that you can Gupta. And when you go to the epigraphical sources, the earliest known record of Guptas in Magad region in the Nalanda belongs to Samudragupta, not Kumaragupta. And you see that Nalanda copper plate inscription of Samudragupta gives direct evidence, though it is burned down, but a few portion is still readable. It direct gives you that evidences basically that he has just given patronage to Mahavihara. Hiranand Shastri, who discovered it, shows that he issued this inscription from his victorious camp at Nirpura. Nirpura is almost, you see that 4-5 kilometers from Nalanda, in which the gift of 2 villages to Brahman Jai Bhatta was given, who were experts of the Trividya. So almost such anomalies shows that probably Kumar Gupta's hypothesis as a founder was not acceptable. Again, very important point, if Nagarjuna is considered to be the founder of Nalanda, so there is a much debate about that Nalanda's, you can say, Nalanda's, you can say, founder was Mahavihara tradition, founder was Nagarjuna. And recent archaeological discoveries and its the support that was taken from literary sources, it is found that the period of Nagarjuna may be just vary from 1st century BC to 1st century Common Era. And when he is coming to Nalanda, it means if he is considered to be the founder of Nalanda Mahavihara tradition, then how his phase started from in the early century, then how Kumaragupta or Sakraditya can be the founder of Nalanda University or Nalanda Mahavihara. So this hypothesis basically needs reinterpretation, and definitely I have just reinterpreted it, and finally I just found it almost that you should not say that Nalanda Mahavihara itself is found. It is a spontaneous development. It is an evolution in which we can learn Nalanda into 2 phases. One in the Vihara that started in the phase of Buddha, 6th century BCE, and almost come to 1st century Common Era, but it was never ended. It was almost assimilated and evolved with another tradition that came that you call the Mahavihara tradition. Maybe who's the real, you can say, patron of it is much debate. Maybe Kumar Devi or maybe Samudragupta, and that tradition lasted almost at least 14th century, almost because it is said that when Dharmaswami left this land in around 1335, he says that 70 monks were still there in the Nalanda campus. So almost maybe you see that 40-50 years, and after that Nalanda finally as a structure lost. But definitely that Nalanda tradition that started taking shape, and that almost reigned the whole world for almost you cannot say that whole world, but almost whole Central Asia, East Asia, and Southeast Asia over 1,000 years. Still, you can say, has a very, very subtle, very, very strong presence in these nations and also in our academic traditions. So we have to just look into these things that I started, the idea of name, idea of sacred landscape, as well as idea of, you can say, then name, origin into different perspective. And I hope that someday that a proper excavation would be started And then we come to know that what is the real glory of Nalanda. Definitely, it would be it would be a different word if you. It is still necessity, at least if you just going to excavate 4-5 kilometer area. Definitely, it's one of the very monumental structure and most wonderful thing across the world, not only for India. So let's hope that in the future it would be a possibility. And IIT Gandhinagar has a great archaeological center, maybe instrumental in their future excavation drive. And now, just in my lecture, and again, I just thank you, Professor Prabhakar ji, to giving me such a wonderful opportunity. And I'm just happy if there will be some queries from your side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. It was a wonderful talk. I mean, we have been taken to different time periods, different perspectives. And it's really nice to listen to you. Now we can take up some questions if there are a few. I mean, we have. So far, no questions. I mean, I request the participants, you can type your questions, your any comments, any queries, suggestions in the Q&A chat box, so that we will take up one by one.
Like question I have, can you share some historical evidence to show that Nalanda was established before 4th century AD?
One question is that, can you share some historical evidence to show that Nalanda was established before 4th century AD? As you suggest, Nagarjuna was a teacher in Nalanda. Dear movie, some Vietnamese sisters. So, dear sister, read my paper, Origin of Nalanda. I have very vividly discussed, which is published from Ancient Asia. It is open access. So you can directly go, and I have given very exhaustive sources, almost 15 points one by one. And so you can get very exhaustively just, or you can just go through my recent book that is very bulky, Nalanda, a Glorious Tradition. It's also a full chapter that is 12,000 words, but the paper is directly available. I have just mentioned that how it is possible that Nalanda was established not by just Kumaraditya, and mentioned that how Nagarjuna come, where he stayed in the Orissa region, what was his debate with the you can say Satwan ruler, and what is the compulsion that he came to Nalanda, how Nalanda was chosen as a center of the Mahayana, and that tradition I have sought from the Mahasangikas during the 3rd century BC, when Mahasangikas just moved from Vaishali. Then they go into the 3 branches. One move to the Mathura, other come to the Magad region, then come to Nalanda. The third goes to the Andhra region. So mentioned every point very precisely, that how Nalanda was established much before. It is full of evidences. When you read the paper, definitely now there is no argument left, but you have to accept that it is founded much before.
Question: how is the decline of Nalanda?
There is a question.
The second question is, though, it's how lies decline of Nalanda as a learning center due to attack of the Bakhtiyar was definitely the last thing is that there is no issue. There is no debate that he was not responsible. Bakhtiyar was definitely responsible. And there is almost 10 or 12 archaeological reports that is directly mentions that the attack finally. So, and all the layers and burning that evidences goes to, it is almost a report by the Shastri, by the, you can say, by the, all at least 6-7, you can say that archaeologists have mentioned that it's the burning down, and also it is well supported by evidences that I told you. If you say that Rorik's translation about the last journey of the Dhammaswami, he is the last person who stayed there, and he just given his directly mentions that he mentions the date that 1235 was probably the last attack. So it is the very important thing that the last nail was definitely that his invasion. But deterioration started much before. So we have to also look into that. That what? Again, I'm just saying that for that, you have to go to my paper if you're not going to my book, Destruction and Decline of Nalanda. It is also available on the Gestor and published by Royal Aesthetic Society, Hong Kong. So, Destruction and Decline of Nalanda, Anand Singh. So, you will find it that I have very 40-page paper is directly, and I have very exhaustively discussed everything that what happened. And also just try to solve a lot of debate that is coming on that destruction. But the final name, there is no debate, Bakhtiyar Khalji was responsible.
Who is responsible for burning the
The idea of Brahmins is a very late 16th century evidence of Taranath. And when you look into that evidence, what found is there is there is one, you can say, a specific fighting between the two group of the novices. And when it is said that when Buddhist novices ridiculed the Brahmin one, they threw fire, and but it was, this evidence was manipulated. It is said that they sent the fire, but that fire was extinguished by the Manjushri. So why you are not learning the last line? So it was totally just said that it was just fire was subsided, and even 20-kilometer square area university is that. So how the 4-5 boys can be instrumental to destroy? So this theory probably, in my opinion, I don't think that it is responsible for that.
Sharda, you can take up the next question.
Okay, so the next one is by Ritvik Singh, who asks, your debate regarding decline of Nalanda, connecting it to the decline of Buddhism due to the intertwined play of Vajrayana and Puranic Brahminic forces. Does that mean that Nalanda as a university is completely based on religious base, or were there any practical knowledge courses there as well, which may define it as, which may define beyond Buddhism as a religious force?
One thing is that Nalanda or any Mahavihara, even the Buddhist Vihara, has very two direct space that you have to learn. Generally, when we talk about any monastic establishment, we think about it's in religious term, but it is not. One part is always a religious term, so that is the development of the philosophy, monastic training, ruling, etc. But other part is totally, you can say that that is for the people's cause. So idea of mathematics, idea of grammar, idea of medical, idea of astronomy. So Nalanda was a very popular. I, as the person who identified that monastery number 9 is a great hospital, and you will find it that you see it that the China was culturally conquered, and I'm not saying it. Who she is saying it, that is the official historian of Mao, who says that historically culturally conquered, in which the medicine played very important role. So you see that the surgery played very important role. So you see that was basically more important than the philosophy. The philosophy, the religious training is very exclusive domain only for the monk. But the medical, the grammar, the technique, the metallurgy was a generic application. It was used for the all. So almost it was more important. And you see it that finally, maybe there is a philosophical loss, but that technique, that medical system was not totally lost. It was carried forward by the different traditions, and they still practice it. You find it that traditional medicine is still, though Buddhist medicine not just very popular there, but when you go to the Himalayan region, you found it that it is still very dominant. You visit China and you found that despite dominance of the allopathy, their medicine system is still lies 70-30. Matlab they 70% rely on the traditional medicine, and in which the Buddhist medicine, especially Nalanda medicine, has hugely, you can say, that contributed. So almost that is the most important part, more important part rather than the philosophical part. We talk about religion, philosophy and all. We generally don't talk about that part, but that part is more important because it's concerned with welfare of the humanity. That was the Buddhist core idea.
Sir, I don't see any other questions. Okay, just there's one which has come just now. This is from Sulabh Chakma. He is from Singapore and a former student of yours, I guess. What was the simultaneous situation of other Mahaviharas like Sompura in Bengal, Vikramshila during the Khalji's invasion, which happened at Nalanda, and other monastic institutions in northern India?
Yes, so now it's just a very spontaneous reason that the reason is the same. As soon as that Islamic penetration started into the Bengal, so it may be Khalji or somebody else, but it was the very important reasons that these monasteries were destroyed majoritively because of the Islamic invasion. So majority, but they are not properly studied in those terms. Generally, these sites, either Manavati or Udayana, or you can say that Vikramshila and all, these sites were not studied properly in the holistic terms, that what kind of contribution they made, what kind of, you can say, generally they were learned only in the terms of the religion. So when we will learn with the basis of the archaeological reports, findings, and then we will comprehensively just compare with the existing literature, we will come to know that who was the person, what was the real intention and cause for the decline. But what we have meager evidences, so on basis of it, majority scholars accept that all Bengal Mahaviharas were met the same fate as Nalanda and Vikramshila.
The next question is from Saurabh Mishra. He asks, any opinion about the origin of Nalanda name from the king Nala of the Nishad kingdom? Mahabharat mentions his presence in Ayodhya, although we don't know about the true geographical location of this kingdom.
No, I don't have such evidence till date that there is some kind of affiliation, though Mahabharat has a great presence in adjoining region in the Rajgir, and we have to look the history, especially the period of the Jarasandh, in the different perspective. But regarding Nalanda, we don't have such kind of still, even distance evidence, we did not just have such. So we cannot say that there is some kind of linkage of that.
So this question is from Om Tiwari. Do we have evidences of Nalanda Mahavihara working as legitimizing tool for various ruling dynasties like Guptas, Palas, and other Southeast Asian? So he's asking about Southeast Asian dynasties like the Khmer. Because all these rulers patronize Nalanda in one way or the other. Can we compare it to the Sangam poets who were patronized by the Pandyas or the Gharatikas of Kanchi by different rulers?
Many scholars have proposed this model for Nalanda also. Like Professor R. Sharma has proposed this model that basically Guptas patronized this because to just have a good sense of towards the Gupta dynasty, because it lies in the core area of the Magad. But when you look into it, it seems that many of the rulers like Harsh was living in the Kannauj and patronizing. Palas have the capital in the Munger. So it may be one of the cause, but it not be the holistic cause as the most important cause. So it may be one of the cause that they also, because the hugely just Magad region and whole Gangetic Valley was surrounded by the Buddhist population. So it was one of the most popular institutions. So they have that patronized because of that. but intentionally they have done it. They never mentioned it somehow. So they did not mention it. So why we just put it that it should be the cause? It may be one of the cause, but dominantly it cannot be a sole cause. So don't have that such kind of idea. But it was proposed by some scholars.
Okay.
I think there are no other questions.
I think we don't have any more questions.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Anand Singh. I mean, for this wonderful talk. Once again, thank you for your time and inspired for delivering this talk. I thank also all the participants for joining us today. And I request you to join us again last Saturday of next month, where we'll be hosting another interesting talk. Thank you everyone. Thank you, Sharda. Thank you, Purva.
And thank you, Professor Prabhakar and your team for just wonderful arrangement and wonderful just giving me opportunity for this wonderful just interaction. And we hope that in future that such an opportunity will come to us.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So